One criticism of the Wii U's tablet controller I've seen repeatedly over the last year or so is its use of a resistive touchscreen instead of a capacitive multi-touch screen like most smartphones and tablet computers use. And people seem to be under the impression that because resistive touchscreens are an older technology than capacitive touchscreens, that then it's bad technology, or it's not as resistive, or it's unsuitable to provide a suitable experience. And that's a reasonable thing to be concerned about because it's a controller, and this is going to be how you're controlling the game. So, what sort of technology it's using, that is a legitimate concern. But people who say that the controller that it's a mistake or that it's wrong to use a resistive touchscreen, they're missing several points that they're kind of overlooking. First being the fact that on devices with capacitive touchscreens, like say the iPhone or the iPad or Android phones and tablets, those devices they rely on multi-touch because they have no buttons for controlling the game action at all. Whereas multi-touch, they those devices like to simulate virtual buttons using the multi-touch screen. Whereas on the Wii U's controller, you have a touch screen, but you also have a full suite of buttons, a fully traditional controller. It's basically the same as an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation DualShock controller, but with a screen added to it. It's not lacking in buttons. It doesn't need to rely solely on the touchscreen, and in that to that extent, have multi-touch capabilities on the screen are not as essential at all. And one thing about capacitive touchscreens, yes, it's newer technology. You could do stuff like pinching in and out, but capacitive touchscreens are not as reliable or as precise as resistive touchscreens. Like if you've used the Nintendo DS's touchscreen, or especially on the DSi XL where the screens are very large, like when you touch a resistive button on a good touchscreen, resistive touchscreen, it responds immediately. Whereas with a capacitive touchscreen, if the temperature is not right, it doesn't always necessarily register immediately and as precisely as a resistive touchscreen would in the same situation. I know this from playing like platformers, for instance, on resistive on capacitive touchscreens on tablets and smartphones. I've tried playing platformers. Sometimes it does not respond as precisely as it should. It's good for doing functional things like entering data maybe, but sometimes for gaming where precision and speed and accuracy are essential, capacitive touchscreens aren't as reliable and aren't always as consistent as resistive touchscreens. Like most art tablets, those are resistive surfaces. It's not like Nintendo. It's not like no one uses resistive touch technology anymore. A lot of devices still use it because it's reliable. It depends on what you're using it for and what your needs are. Like for example, take modern automobiles. We still use gasoline engines in cars. Up to date, fully modern cars still use gasoline engines. That's 150-year-old technology pretty much. It is old technology, but it's still useful in a modern application. Just because it's old technology doesn't necessarily mean it's bad technology or it's unsuited for the machine that it's for what you need to use it for. So I'm not really concerned about the use of a resistive touchscreen in the Wii U controller, especially when they place an emphasis on things like drawing and things like that. For drawing, capacitive touchscreens generally aren't like the device input device of choice. Like for most art tablets are resistive, for instance. So there's a perfectly good reason Nintendo would want to use a resistive touchscreen in the controller, and it's not a bad thing that they're using that. So that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching.